The idea of making enthusiastic consent a legal requirement for sexual encounters is thankfully not widespread, but it's gaining traction as a form of virtue signaling, making it appealing to certain activists and politicians. However, this proposal requires strong opposition before it gains any real momentum, both as a legal standard and as a cultural expectation. Former New South Wales Minister for the Prevention of Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault, Prue Goward, publicly advocated for enthusiastic consent to be enshrined in law. According to the Palgrave Handbook of Sexual Ethics, Goward stated, "You must explicitly ask for permission to have sex. If it's not an enthusiastic yes, then it's a no." I feel that this is where the law in New South Wales needs to go. This is a dangerous idea, and it's fortunate it hasn't become law. Bad ideas like this one, if left unchallenged, can eventually become the law, and this is a perfect example of a proposal that deserves pushback. One of the fundamental issues is that enthusiastic consent is a vague concept. As stated in the Ethics of Sex published by Routledge, it is difficult to find a precise definition of the concept of enthusiastic consent. Gabby Hinsliff describes it as the unmistakable sense of not being able to keep your hands off each other. Many people conflate enthusiastic and affirmative consent, and although the two are certainly related, they are distinct concepts. Enthusiastic consent sets a higher standard for sex than affirmative consent does. It is sometimes described as not just a yes, but a hell yes. The problem here is obvious. A massive number of sexual encounters do not meet this standard. Many adults engage in consensual sex without feeling intense enthusiasm every single time. Making this the legal standard would turn almost every sexually active adult into a technical rapist or rape victim at some point. If the law requires enthusiastic consent and this isn't met, then the sex was without valid consent, which is the legal definition of rape. This dilutes the seriousness of rape, a term currently associated with severe trauma. If virtually everyone, men and women, becomes a rapist or victim by this definition, it undermines the real and devastating experiences of actual victims. A second problem with this model is that it excludes individuals who can give consent but may not display enthusiasm. Consider the asexual community, many of whom engage in consensual sex but may or may not experience the same level of enthusiasm as others. Are they being raped because they aren't excited about sex? That's a nonsensical and harmful implication. Similarly, sex workers may or may not feel enthusiastic about every encounter, yet they are perfectly capable of giving clear and informed consent. Under this legal standard, however, a significant number of their clientele would technically be committing rape, even if the sex worker consented. Again, this cheapens what it really means to be a rapist or victim. People with depression often struggle with feelings of enthusiasm. While they may still consent to sex, it's unreasonable to expect them to meet the standard of visible excitement every time. If this were law, it could add an unnecessary burden on those already dealing with mental health issues. And now they have to deal with the idea that their sexual partner could technically be considered a rapist under the law because they were not enthusiastic. No one would take this seriously, making the law useless and weakens people's commitment to following the law. Advocating for enthusiastic consent as a legal requirement might feel morally superior, but it's more an example of virtue signaling without considering the practical implications. We need a model of consent that is clear, informed, and voluntary, not one that sets an unrealistic standard and criminalizes normal sexual behavior. Before supporting this model, consider the real-world consequences and read the critiques of the model. The enthusiastic consent model, while well-intentioned, is not practical, and it would do more harm than good if codified into law.